The vainest people in the world. They really, really are. You know, if you listen closely, they talk a lot about how carefully they take care of themselves. Not of us, but of themselves. And they've been doing it for a long, long time. A little bit of personal maintenance is great, but they've taken it to an extreme. Most of us, if we're working hard or if we're in a crisis, we might stress eat, we might miss a few workouts. Happens to me all the time. I have struggled with my weight for a very long time. Here I am in the pool, a guy who's got to wear a shirt to the pool, sometimes to the beach. It's up and down with the weight. Because, quite frankly, I got to focus on other things other than getting people to vote for me or giving money. And that's what these folks do all the time. Vote for me or give me money. And they got to look great all the time. Maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit, but I think there's something to it. They each pretty much brag about how much they work out and how careful they are about maintaining themselves. Take Kamala Harris.
I work out every morning, regardless of how much sleep I've had. It's just the best way to start the day. For months, I couldn't find weights to order weights. They were sold out, so I had these liter water bottles that I filled, of course, with water and used them as hand weights.
That's resourceful.
All right. The thing is, if you don't sleep enough, the first thing most people blow off is the workout. Look, I guess in a way I admire the discipline, but there's something here because when it came to Donald Trump, let's face it, he had a few extra pounds. But when you really do the job of president, let's take this full. Are you thinking about yourself and your workouts? Barack Obama certainly did. I mean, and I think half of it was, look how cool I am. You know, President Trump was mocked by the left for that image, getting off the helicopter after a long, hard day. I think he was in Oklahoma. But that's how people look after working really, really hard. You know, leadership sometimes isn't pretty, and I saw that in the briefing room. Take a look. We got Professor Obama there, and we've got the CEO, Donald Trump, dealing with potentially a hostile board. I mean, leadership, sometimes you got to get red in the face. And that's what those vain politicians, I don't think they really understand. Now, let's take Governor Cuomo. For months, we here in New York knew that he was blowing it as far as COVID response. But the rest of the world fell in love with him because he was tan, he was in shape, he seemed to know what he was talking about. He seemed to. The substance of it all wasn't there. As we pointed out on this program, I think it was in April, May at the latest, that the situation with elderly patients and the nursing homes was deeply, deeply troubling. It was pointed out, very few people were listening, but we tried.
If you are tested positive for the virus, are you allowed to be admitted to a nursing home is the question. Or readmitted?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know.
The policy is that if you are positive, you should be admitted back to a nursing home. The necessary precautions will be taken to protect the other residents there.
But they weren't, and thousands of people died. We're not quite sure if Governor Cuomo seriously did not know what the policy was. If he didn't, that's bad. If he did, that's really bad. But often with the media and Democrats, it's style over substance. Take Joe Biden. Looks like a president, been around for a long time, although he's enacting or trying to enact one of the most radical left-wing agendas this country has ever seen. Yeah, but hey, he looks normal, right? He looks normal as he goes about killing jobs all over the place and sending out the ultimate elitist, John Kerry, to spin for him.
Coal plants have been closing over the last 20 years. So what President Biden wants to do is make sure those folks have better choices, that they have alternatives, that they can be the people who go to work to make the solar panels. They were making them here at home.
Okay, did the fellow who lost his job on the Keystone Pipeline and thousands of his friends, did they get those solar panel jobs? No, it's not working out that way at all. Remember this heartbreaking tale?
At the stroke of a pen, me, my buddies, all of us, we lost our jobs. I just bought this car. I had a 6-year payment plan on it. So I'm probably going to have to sell the car. probably won't be able to make next month's mortgage. It just doesn't make any sense.
Style over substance. And too many in the media don't care about how these policies are really affecting people negatively. Something else on Capitol Hill, they were talking about the riots from January 6th. A terrible event, but as you know, all of Washington, D.C. wants to blame this on anybody who voted for Donald Trump. We heard from Christopher Wray, the FBI director. Interesting testimony. Christopher Wray, a lot of us believe, is being used by the Democrats, perhaps willingly. I want to show you the FBI's Twitter account right now, okay? This is their homepage Twitter account, and it's dominated by the January 6th situation. I mean, everything. Who are these people? Where are they? Help us. Chris Wray's testifying. Again, more. Back to people they're looking for from January 6th. Now, these people should be punished if they did something wrong, but for the most part, they were mostly trespassers. And the FBI, along with Democrats, seem to want us to believe that January 6th was on par with September 11th, 2001. It's not even close. It's light years behind that. But that's what's happening. And you know what really disturbs me as well? Why don't we hear about Ashley Babbitt? Ashley Babbitt, that young woman, Trump supporter, who was shot and killed by Capitol Hill police. She was unarmed. Was she breaking the law? Yes. But we all know by now that just breaking the law when you're unarmed and not threatening an officer directly doesn't mean they can shoot you. But they did. And nobody in Washington seems to care about this young woman.
At the moment, the investigation's still ongoing.
So does that mean, since the investigation is going on, you have not determined the exact cause of the death?
That means we can't yet disclose a cause of death at this stage.
But you have determined the cause of death.
I didn't say that. We're not at a point where we can disclose or confirm a cause of death.
Isn't that interesting? Because the media told us for a long time they determined the cause of death of Officer Sicknick. Remember?
A Capitol Hill police officer named Brian Sicknick was killed by the mob with a fire extinguisher.
Officer Brian Sicknick died after he was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher.
Fatally wounding Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who was struck in the head by a fire extinguisher.
It was in the New York Times at one point. The New York Times is very well respected, even though they get it wrong sometimes, both in what they report and how they manage their employees. This employee got the shaft. Donald McNeil, well-respected reporter there for many decades. He covered science, and people liked his work. So here's what happened to him about 2 years ago in a conversation, an academic conversation, essentially, with some students in Peru. He used the N-word. Not to call someone an N-word. Somebody brought it up. Hey, someone used the N-word in the video. Is that wrong or is that right? And he wanted to know, well, how was the N-word used? Was it used in this context or that context? Anyway, he got in trouble for it 2 years ago for uttering that word. The students turned him in. Anyway, now that we're having this woke revolution, someone decided to revisit the entire issue. It was in the Daily Beast. It became a big thing. Ultimately, Mr. McNeil had to resign. Seems very, very unfair. This is interesting. He wrote this, came out yesterday, I believe. In the middle of the crisis, this is what he tells his employers, who are really leaning on him to take a hike. He says, I've been getting emails and calls from bureaus all over the world saying, hang in there, you're getting screwed. People are outraged at how I'm being trashed in the press and by the Times. If you fire me over this, you're going to lose everybody over the age of 40 at the paper. All the grown-ups, all your bureau chiefs, all your Washington reporters, all your Pulitzer winners, especially once they realize how innocuous what I really said was. Interesting, huh? This is happening where young folks in a corporation, in a newsroom, wherever, start to rally around and say, we're offended, we're offended. And they try to take out somebody who's older. We're seeing it all the time. You know who's not helping? People like the crew at MSNBC and John Brennan. Watch this.
It renders, at best hypocritical, at worst cynical and false, any notion that the Republicans care about the lives and the safety of law enforcement.
Okay, first of all, that's totally laughable. This is their version of a Republican, by the way, Nicole Wallace, I believe. Now, she's asking that question of John Brennan, Barack Obama's former CIA director. Watch this.
It renders, at best hypocritical, at worst cynical and false, any notion that the Republicans care about the lives and the safety of law enforcement.
Well, I must say, to Claire's point, I'm increasingly embarrassed to be a white male these days. In light of what I see of my other white males saying.
He was serious, Nicole. He wasn't kidding. Embarrassed to be a white male. You know how cool and hip and fashionable that's considered? You know how stupid and wrong and dangerous I consider it, and I'm sure you consider it as well. We have to stand up for this. No matter your color, no matter your race, no matter your age, whatever, we have to stand up for it, against it. And we can't do it like Mr. McNeil's supporters. Too many of them did it behind the scenes. Did it, oh, hey, we're with you, but we can't say anything out loud. We've got to say it out loud because Donald Trump was right. We're going to lose this country if we don't. Good news is, I think folks are sick of it, even on the left, even on the left. All right, stay with us, folks. How'd you like to pal around with the President of the United States like that? That is Terrence K. Williams, and I haven't seen the president do too many poses like that. Terrence K. Williams, a conservative comedian. Hey, it's not all fun and games. Take a look at this picture. A deep, soulful moment in the cabinet room. There's Terrence on the right there. That is really an intense moment. We'll ask him about that in a moment. You want to check out his book, From the Foster House to the White House. Terrence K. Williams had quite the childhood in foster care. Hey, Terrence, welcome back to Newsmax. How are you, pal?
Man, I am doing great because it is always great to be back on Newsmax with you, the best, Greg Kelly.
Wow. Hey, Terrence, appreciate it so much. So, Terrence, we actually haven't talked about that photograph. You in there, Diamond and Silk, I noticed, some other folks praying with the president, and more than just praying, really, that's a moment of communion. What was that all about?
So we were at the White House. I think it was in February of 2019. It was so great. It was so great. But it was awesome to be sitting by the greatest president of all times, Donald J. Trump. I mean, I was on cloud nine, but we were praying for our president. Not only did President Trump fight for America, this man had to fight for his life. Seriously, he was fighting for America at the same time fighting for his life because the Democrats tried to ruin his life. He sacrificed everything to be president and to put America first. So, we had to pray for him. He needed it.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of folks, they gain a lot when they become president. He lost a lot, business, popularity even. So he really did pay a price. Hey, Terrence, tonight on TV, ABC is running something. It's called Soul of a Nation. We got the trailer all queued up. It's tonight at 7 o'clock, and they're going to play it, I think, 1 hour a week for the next 6 weeks. Here's a taste.
Soul of a Nation. We think America's finally ready for this.
Revolutionary.
A show by Black people for all people about the Black experience in America.
Unfiltered. Breath of fresh air.
So much humor. Tuesday night on ABC. It will be powerfully great.
Soul of a nation. Of a nation.
Soul of a Nation.
All right, 10 o'clock. Sorry about that. All right. I watched that thing twice. I still don't know really what it's all about. Do you?
I'm going to tell you what it is about, okay, Greg? This is not about the soul of a nation. They are going to divide the nation with this TV show. That is exactly why they are doing this. It is to, listen, they're trying to keep racism alive. This is going to be a show about bashing the white man, blaming the white man. That is what this show is going to be all about. It. I'm not watching it. Now, listen, you see they had, all the Black people in there, but they didn't have me in there. You know why? Because I don't get down with that foolishness, and I don't play the victim role. So, they didn't cast me for this TV show. I didn't fit the description.
Well, Terrence, there's money to be made here. I don't know if you heard, they're talking about reparations in this show. Look, slavery was a grievous, grievous sin. It happened, but now they think that somehow America can make up for it by paying money to those who are not even the descendants of slaves. Here's Barack Obama talking about it on a podcast with Bruce Springsteen, of all people.
So if you ask me, theoretically, are reparations justified? The answer is yes. What I saw during my presidency was that the politics of white resistance and resentment, the talk of welfare queens and the talk of the undeserving poor and the backlash against affirmative action, all that made the prospect of actually proposing any kind of coherent, meaningful reparations program struck me as politically not only a non-starter, but potentially counterproductive.
You know, he says very simple things, but he says them very, very slowly. So it seems like it's more interesting and significant. It's just a bunch of hateful stuff, in my opinion. But Terrence, please, what do you think?
Greg, don't do that to me again. Listening to Obama made me sick to my stomach. Please don't do that again. That man talks so slow. But reparations is a joke. People who want reparations don't want a job. They don't want to work. Get a job. You were not a slave. You were not a slave. If you were born in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you were born in 1930, you were not a slave. I mean, slavery was so long ago. You know, you were not a slave. America does not owe anybody reparations, okay? People just need to go get a job, stand in line and get a job. People just want handouts. That's all it is, Greg. These people want handouts. Listen, some of these people work at Walmart. I've never heard of a slave working at Walmart getting paid, every 2 weeks. Come on now. These people want reparations because they don't want to work anymore,
It's interesting, though. I've only heard elites talk about reparations. And you tell me, Terrence, I mean, is this conversation happening in the community? I mean, are regular people talk? I've heard, where have I heard this talked about seriously? By Barack Obama in a podcast, and I think on the CBS morning show. I don't know if anyone else is realistically talking about this. Oh, and AOC and Bernie, I forgot. But okay, the elites are talking about it. Are regular people talking about it?
You know what? I don't hear any of my cousins talking about this, and I have some very liberal cousins, and none of them talk about reparations, okay? And they all know that they need to get a job. They have to work. They have to get a job if they want money. I think majority of Americans just want a job and they want to get paid, titled to everything. Those are the people who don't want to get off the couch and work. We have come so far in this country, okay? Slavery is over. Nobody living today was a slave. Nobody living today was a slave, okay?
Yeah.
So we don't owe anybody reparations at all.
We agree. And by the way, if they were actually to do it, it's totally impossible, too complicated, and a waste of time. Oh, I want to run this by you real quick. The cancel culture strikes again, this time at Dr. Seuss. However, excuse me, I'm not trying to be politically correct here, but I think one or two of these lines in a Dr. Seuss book may be problematic, all right? This is from a book, let's see, it's called I Saw It on Mulberry Street, came out in 1937. Now, we have the quote, and they are basically going to take this book out of circulation because of this quote. I actually remember now a flashback seeing this in second grade for the first time. A Chinaman who eats with sticks. Let's face it, Terrence, you don't say that. That's not good. That's not nice. There are certain words that were said. Times change, cultures change, standards change. I don't think they maybe should take the whole book out. They could maybe make that a little bit nicer. What do you think?
I mean, I don't see a problem. It said Chinese man eat with sticks?
Yeah.
I mean, with chopsticks.
Yeah, but they left out
Chinese store, Greg, when I go to the Chinese store, they give me chopsticks. The Chinese people give me chopsticks.
Yes, I understand that, Terrence, but it's referring to a Chinaman or Chinaman. I don't believe that's respectful. And look,
Oh, I guess it's not. I guess it's not. You know what, Greg? I don't know. I don't know. You know,
you got to keep up. There are lots of ways to be offended. We got to be up to speed on
everything is offensive. You know, you can listen. They call me the African man, the black man. I mean, I don't know, Greg. Everything is offensive.
We are getting all a little bit too touchy. This one, though, this one I can live without that book. I can. All right. Oh, one other. We got one more to show everybody. Hold on a second. This is from a book called If I Ran a Zoo by Dr. Seuss, 1950. I was more of a Curious George guy myself. Can I see the 1950 quote, at least one? Here we go. Oh, boy, there's a lot to read here. If I'll go to Africa, I'll go to the Africa island of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-topped tufted mazurka, a kind of canary with quite a... Do I have to read this whole thing? All right. So that's a caption for the picture. This one, I don't understand what the big deal is about at all. I have a feeling you have no problem with it, and that's fine. You probably weren't into Dr. Seuss either, or were you? As I said, I was a Curious George guy. What book did you like?
Greg, listen, Michelle Obama was reading Dr. Seuss years ago. She didn't have a problem with it.
Ooh.
Michelle Obama, the first black first lady, she didn't have a problem with it. It wasn't racist then, but it's racist now. I just don't understand. Greg, when they say this is racist, some of this stuff I didn't even know was racist, I'm learning something new today. I love my Chinese people, and I didn't know that was racist. I did not know. Because everything is racist these days. I just don't know what's racist and what's not racist.
You know what? And I'm glad you said that, because when everything is racist, nothing is racist. You fall into that trap. You got to save it for when it's real, Otherwise, it loses its meaning. I'll develop that and get back to you tomorrow. Hey, Terrence, we got to go. I want to put the book up one more time because it's a terrific book. And you left me with something very profound in that book, Terrence K. Williams. You grew up a foster child, and you said you've been struck watching the TV. You see commercials. Americans, at least according to the commercials, seem to care more about dogs than foster kids. That really made an impression when you wrote that.
Yes, we have to step up as Americans and start taking care of our children. We have to look after our children. And we're going to be pro-life. We need to take care of our children in foster care.
Thank you. Terrence K. Williams, continued success. Stay in touch. We'll see you back on Newsmax soon.
Thank you.
All right. All the best. Grant Stinchfield drops by to talk about his show. That's just minutes away. Hey, Grant, how are you?
I love Terrence, by the way. You had me laughing the whole time. He had me laughing. Do you remember the Seinfeld joke, Greg? You got to hand it to the Chinese people. They invent the fork, but they're sticking with the chopsticks.
They've seen the fork. They've seen the fork, yet they do the chopstick. Yeah, that was good stuff, Jerry. He lives in the neighborhood, by the way. Yeah, he's a great guy. I recommend his